Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see everyone. It's hard to believe we're already in December. Um, but as I was mentioning earlier, I think this meeting will be a shorter meeting. I know there's a lot of council members that are already out of work or taking vacation. But I really just wanted to use this meeting to really close out 2024. Would love to get your thoughts on, your thoughts about the meetings or maybe any topics that you guys would be interested in seeing in the future as we move into 2025. So would love to open it up, just to kind of get your thought process on and feedback on the meetings and any insight or topics that you would like to see for next year.
Hey, this is Julie from Walgreens. I'm not putting my camera on. Unfortunately, I have an allergic reaction going on, and I'm pretty red and splotchy. So you can just imagine how beautiful that is. And I know that I can't always attend all the calls, and sometimes one of my colleagues does. But well, we talk about what we get a lot of value, not just from the topics that you like prescribe, but almost more from like hearing other companies talk about what they're doing. So I'm wondering if some sort of like open rotation of sharing would be helpful, whether it's just 5 minutes in meeting or something like that, because I feel like that's a good springboard for us.
Well, thank you, Julie. That's a really good feedback. And I was thinking about that as well as we move into 2025. Maybe we could block out, 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of meetings, to have you, Julie, come on and talk about the things that you guys are doing at Walgreens, or have Ayana coming on and talking about the things at Easter Seals, Florida. So I really like that idea a lot. And I wrote it down. It's something that we could definitely implement in the new year.
Sounds good.
Any other thoughts or suggestions?
I have one, and forgive me if this was already said. I had to take a call real quick. Um, if we could maybe just discuss, I know a lot of times we talk about future trends and everything, industries and what's going on, and so possible change for diversity and inclusion organizations coming up for the new year. So, how are we preparing? I know I've had started the conversation in Easter Seals, what we're looking at, what possibilities and using different language uh, for certain things. So I wonder if we can have that conversation.
No, for sure. I think that's super important as we go into 2025 to really just do like a deeper dive on like DEI initiatives. And then, like you said, Ayana, about maybe that communication piece, right? I think really focusing in on that communication when we have, employees who may have disabilities, right? When we talk about like person first language and how to utilize that. Or, if we have an employee that may be, hesitant about disclosing their disability or might not know that they have a disability. How do we frame languages in language within organizations to provide resources for employees with disabilities or even those who may not have disclosed that they have a disability or may have been diagnosed that they have a disability to break that barrier and create that comfort level. So I think that's a really good idea, and I will also put that down as well for us to include that in our meetings also. I
I
think
just wanted,
also,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, Anne, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up if anyone knows, um, what I seem to come across issues with is when I have clients who have limb loss or limited mobility. maybe due to a stroke that they are unable to use, um, a hand as they would have in the past or something. A lot of companies will not allow, especially if they're sending the equipment, any type of programs to download to assist them, like with typing and things like that. Um, I just feel like we need to come a little bit further with that.
No, you bring up a really great point, Anne, and I think I mentioned previous meetings ago that we're currently working with an organization called Cephable, that provides like assistive technology software for those with disabilities. And some of our workforce development participants had the opportunity of taking part of a month-long project, specifically those with limb loss and limb differences, and being able to utilize adaptive software. And the cool thing about that was some of our participants were already employed, right? So then it was the conversation of, that participant talking with their employer on like, hey, this software works really well for me. And how can we integrate this into the workforce, into the workplace, into our organization? And those conversations are being had now, which I think is really awesome. But you bring up a really good point of even like for us, when we're looking into 2025 within our departmental plan, what are some of those barriers that could be in place for our participants that are looking to return to work or start work with limb loss or limb difference? And one of those is assistive technology, right? So having access to assistive technology or not knowing how to go about getting certain assistive technology, or maybe that financial barrier of, oh my goodness, I need this to be able to do a remote job, but I don't know financially how I'm going to be able to get that particular device, right? So I like that idea a lot, and I think it's something we could put in our topics within meetings for next year to really talk about how do we have or how do we get more employers to be receptive of transitioning and putting assistive technology within their organizations. And sometimes it could be, well, a security thing or information sharing and things of that nature. But I also think that it's life-changing for a lot of our participants who are able to have that assistive technology because they're going to be as competitive as, any other employee within the organization. So I really like that topic as well. Any other thoughts or comments? I think another thing too is I know we have our meetings scheduled normally the second Tuesday of every month at 3 p.m. Eastern time, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on how's that time working out for you guys? Are you wanting a different time for us to meet? I was talking, with our director Maurice about, maybe we could move our meeting times to the second Wednesday of each month at 3 p.m. So we'd love to hear thoughts on, what days and times work best for everyone.
Well, I do know for Lisa and I, Tuesdays we have meetings every week. So we have, which our employer is very nice about allowing us to attend. But it does cut into our counselor meetings, for updates. But Wednesdays are fine. But again, if, no one's open to change, that's perfectly fine too. The one Tuesday shouldn't upset anything. So
I am, it works. Tuesdays are busy for me. So I'm like finishing up a meeting for this one, and sometimes they run over and I just leave kind of the same. I was like, I gotta go. And sometimes I can't make it at all, um, which I hate missing these meetings. So Wednesday would or any Wednesday would work for me. The only other day that won't work is like a Friday at this time. I have a standing meeting on Fridays, kind of a wrap up but I'm good with Wednesdays. I'm also good with earlier times on different days. So I know that's hard for some, but I'm good with changing it to Wednesday as well.
No, that sounds great. So how do we feel about maybe just trying out, as we go into January, trying out the second Wednesday of each month at 3 p.m. Eastern time?
That worked for me.
Sure.
That works for me.
Perfect. So I'll switch those meeting invites. So you'll see that change here shortly. And then again, if we're coming into the new year and Wednesdays at that time doesn't work, we could always just come back and decide collectively, what time works for everyone. Also, I know we've had the recap meetings. I think going into 2025, because we record these meetings, that will probably eliminate the recap meetings. And then after each, council meeting each month, I'll make sure to send out the recording for any council members that weren't able to join the call for that particular month. And then also too, we have two guests on the call. I'm sorry, Phoebe and Melissa. But if you guys wanted to introduce yourselves, and yeah, really appreciate both of you joining us this afternoon.
Hi, I'll jump in. This is Phoebe Kaler at the Next Level Foundation. And Triana, thank you so much for inviting Melissa and myself to join. We're so excited to be part of this group. And so far, just the 5 minutes of the meeting is, I loved all the different topics that people are asking to discuss next year. It's just nice to have this kind of intelligence and talking about things that are so important to our mission and love the group think. So we're grateful to be part of this. Thank you.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you both, Phoebe and Melissa, on the call, and thank you so much. We look forward to having you at our future meetings and part of our council. So thank you again. And I think, another thing is, as we go into 2025, our youth engagement program, our workforce development program is working on our departmental plan for the new year. And I, just wanting to really just go over what some of that, those goals and those processes look like. So as we move into 2025, a goal for us is to really continue to build our workforce development participation base. So, any participants that you're working with, particularly, with limb loss and limb difference that could benefit from our programming, we would love for you, to share information about a workforce development program and to have them sign up for a workforce development program. There's a registration link that I could send everyone out for that signage. We will love that. And that's particularly really just building out our adult and veteran pocket as long with our youth pocket ages 15 to 17 with limb loss and limb difference. And Chris and I and Paula's not on the call this afternoon, but we've had really great conversations also throughout the past couple of days of really just trying to analyze as well as, how do we frame, our wording and in our language within our programming specifically for those with limb loss and limb difference, right? So not only are we serving youth with limb loss, but we're serving youth with limb differences. And that could look, a variety of different ways, right? So that could be youth with mobility disabilities, youth who are wheelchair users, youth who are blind, right? So really just being able to open it up to say, our primary focus is youth with limb loss and limb difference. But when we're talking about the pocket of youth with limb differences, this is, what that could look like. This is what our community members could be a part of. Yeah, Chris and I had some great conversation on that as well. Chris, anything that I missed or anything that you want to add to that?
I would just say, it was great talking about that yesterday, and then it's great also hearing from folks on this call today just about what the potential is for the broader work of the coalition, but also this group coming into the new year and just the possibilities. So nothing more than just a lot of excitement about what's coming in the next year.
For sure. I think, another real focus of ours is really being able to increase our veteran population, veterans with limb loss and limb difference within our workforce development program. And you'll see next year, we'll have a workforce development volunteer starting with us. His name is Pierre. And he'll be joining our meetings. But he's an individual who's a veteran and also has limb loss and limb difference, that works very closely with the Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, and does some of the adaptive programming, sports programming here within the Orlando area. So excited for you to meet him. But I think he will be a great representative and liaison as we continue our push to increase more veterans with limb loss and limb difference. Another focus that we're really wanting to dive in on is, job and internship opportunities, continued job and internship opportunities for our participants with limb loss and limb difference that are part of our workforce development program. So we'd love to be able to sit down with some of you or all of you to really talk about, individually, the job opportunities that you guys are offering specifically within your organizations and programming, and how we're able to really be able to share those out with our participants. So Lisa, I know, you shared information about GCE, which was super helpful. And we're going to be working towards really implementing that information more, maybe within our workforce development webpage, and just kind of email blasting that out, to our participants to be involved in the job opportunities that you guys offer. Also, Mariana, where our big focus as well is really tapping into colleges and universities. So you and I really working together to see, what that may look like for particular jobs, with that UCLA, and maybe internship opportunities for our youth, for young adults with limb loss and limb difference. We'll love to talk about that. And Ayana, we have a pretty big pocket here of participants in the Central Florida area. So we'll love, for us to really do a deeper dive of those participants that we have. And talking about shared or collaborative internship opportunities and job opportunities for those folks as well. So and Julie, I think the Ready program is great, and really being able to do a deeper dive on how we could work together, for either like internships or the Ready program or job opportunities within certain pockets that we have for our participants within our workforce development program.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
So you guys will probably be getting an email from me shortly as we get into the new year. So we could set some time, maybe 30 minutes on the calendar, just to talk about what that may look like, and how we could collaborate together, on those opportunities. And I think another big thing too is, I know I mentioned it before, is our job board platform. So we have 2 job board platforms currently for our workforce development participants. One for our adults and veterans, and the other one is for like internships for our youth participants. But would love to also talk about some of those opportunities that you guys have available, being able to share those out on our job board platform and what that looks like, right? So if it's something like a UCLA, Mariana, where, we have 20 or 25 job openings specifically within UCLA, for us to have a conversation on how could those job positions maybe be on our job board platform, kind of like on a rolling basis for like a 30-day period or 60-day period, and things of that nature. So also something for us to do a deeper dive on. Any questions on that particularly? I know that was a lot of information.
I have a question. Does it have to be a certain number of jobs to put on your platform?
No, it could be 1, it could be 20.
Okay.
It varies. So right now we have organizations that may want to post one job, and that's totally fine. Or there's other jobs. It's like, well, we have 30 job positions open, and we want to post it on your job board platform. And then we kind of talk through what that looks like as well. So, but yeah, there's no minimum. But uh, it could vary. It definitely could vary.
Okay. Man, let's talk about that because I'll have an opening. I would like to post it but I have a small group that covers a big area, so I wasn't sure if I could post on there as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's definitely chat. I'll send you an email so we can set up some time. Did you have a question, Mariana?
Yes, that would be very helpful for us because we're always working on outreach. And I wanted to ask, do you have a link to the job board that you could share with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me find that real quick, and I could just drop it in the chat. Um, I'll actually send you the link for both of them. So,
Okay,
first link will be particularly just like our main job board platform. And then the other one is our intern board.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts on the job board platforms or any questions about departmental goals for 2025 for our youth engagement and workforce development programming? I think also for us too is really just being able to, build a pocket, of youth that come through our youth engagement program, right? So I think the main thing is we have two workforce development programs specifically, one for youth and one for adults and veterans, but ultimately the goal is, to have our youth come through the youth engagement program, workforce development program for college readiness skills and internships and on-the-job training opportunities. And then once they're aging out of our YEP programming, then transitioning over to our adult and veteran programming, workforce development program. And that could look like internships in college. That could look like full-time and part-time opportunities. And then once they're going through, our workforce development program for the adult and veteran side, then that mentorship and volunteer component where they could come back and be a camp counselor within our youth camp. They could come back into our workforce development volunteer program. They could be a mentor for our new YEP participants coming into our program. So I think it's important, as we look into 2025, really just building out that pipeline of youth adults and then that mentorship and volunteer opportunity component once they're done with our programming. I think another cool thing about, our job boards is that our participants that have access to our job board platforms, they have access once they go through our training. So we require our participants to do, what's called a workforce development training, right? So they meet with me, we go over their career goals. If they have a resume, we're reviewing their resume together. If they don't have a resume, we help them to create a resume or a cover letter or both, and then they do a series of different webinar trainings. So it's 7 in total. And that could be anything from resume review, mock interviewing, how to make a LinkedIn profile. And then once they complete all of the required training, then they transition to, our job board platform. And I think that's important for a number of reasons. I think specifically for, the job applicant and for the participant, this kind of gives them the skill set to know that they're ready to be able to move on and research and apply for jobs, right? Because they built a resume and they went through the training and they're feeling confident in going ahead and applying and securing that job position. But I think in the other respect of that, for the employer and organization, it's important because when you're coming onto our job board platforms, you know that these are participants that are ready to work, that are very highly qualified, that went through our training specifically, and they're ready to go ahead and apply for the job openings that you guys have available. So really, really great opportunity. And yeah, would love to connect with each of you about what that looks like specifically for our job board platforms. Any other questions or comments? If not, I would love to hear from you guys as far as planning for 2025. What are kind of your goals and processes as far as recruitment for more employees with disabilities within your organizations? Or if you're serving those with disabilities, such as like Ayana within Easter Seals, Florida, are there any programs or services or opportunities that are going to be available that are new coming into 2025? So we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Actually, we have just gotten off the ground, and Julie, I wanted to kind of ask you about it because it was kind of put on my plate. It was moving slow, so I didn't hear much about it. But we are building out a Walgreens makeshift center in West Palm. We have a building, and we received an email. First, we got a shipment of like a lot of stuff and then didn't really receive communication. So I wasn't sure if it was starting. And then we received communication, and now they're like, hey, send us measurements. So I'm super excited. I don't know much about it, but I know the intention is have a learning place that Walgreens provides all the items, and that our students with disabilities and open to the community that want to use Easter Seals as their vendor of choice to come and learn the skills so that they can work with Walgreens, preferably Walgreens. However, it doesn't have to be Walgreens, but um, preferably Walgreens. But this is coming up for our 2025. We're really excited about it. It's for retail and manufacturing, I believe, or in the warehouse. And you don't have any pictures or anything to go off of, but I'll be looking for some. And as communication goes,
So I'm like totally frantically messaging my boss on the side. So I actually just took over, as you know, like the eastern portion of the US. So my peer Lauren was working with you. So I'm like, hey, what's going on with that? But I can definitely find out more information. The other mock areas that we have, it's really more, usually we would send you, here's what the store looks like, here's what you'd align, here's what we're sending you. So don't know why that didn't come, but I'll scramble and try to get you what I can so that you know what's going on there. But that
thank
sounds
you.
interesting. It sounds great. It sounds like an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, we think, I mean, and I love Walgreens. It really came like all of a sudden, like, hey, and I'm like, oh, okay, and send us measurements.
Of
Okay.
what? Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what we
So
hope to use it for though, which I think this would be an awesome opportunity in the West Palm Beach area. There is a school that we work with. We work with quite a few, but we work with a high school called Atlantis Academy. The whole school is for children, students with disabilities, and they have a transition program. And we are doing our health part there, and our health strive program there, and we hope to have those students come to this, our Walgreens partnership store, to learn some other skills and to get them connected. We hope to conduct interviews there, hope to have Walgreens employees come. Like, the possibilities to me are endless with this partnership. So I really look forward to that. And we're working with FAU as well in that area. And we really try to get out and just let everybody know what we're doing So that's one of the things for that West Palm area. We're really trying to push skills in the health industry. Sometimes, individuals with disabilities, not that you don't see them, but at a younger age, nobody's talking to them about this, right? There's so many things in the health field that they can do, and so many things that are available to them if they know about it. And so it's just trying to find that path. So I hope to really break into just more of that area. So that's what's coming up for 2025. One of the things that I'm really excited about.
No, that's great. And I would love to connect Ayana to see how we could collaborate on that specifically. I know we have some participants within the West Palm area. So I'd love to talk more about that. On average, do you normally serve a lot of youth with disabilities within Easter Seals, Florida, or specifically within your workforce development program?
Yes, we serve a lot of youth. So they divided up our veterans. So I don't, not that we don't get veterans, maybe through vocational rehabilitation, but in Easter Seals has a whole component department just for veterans. So uh, you know, job searching, like it's a whole department just for them. So I don't have that. When I get them, like I look for them there, but but we do service a lot of young people, and especially have just a soft place in my heart for that transition, early college, or just talking about college. Like, I mean, just having the conversation about college too sometimes is like, oh, I never thought about that. And so um we do service a lot of them. I don't really service a lot of young kids. So I think my cutoff, we tend to go with the BR cutoff for work. Like, so I think they lowered it to 14. I prefer 16, but we take 14 as well, but 16 and up.
No, that's great. Yeah, we'll love to connect also on the youth that you guys serve, and share information specifically about our youth engagement program and camp. And even if, they're kind of like after that 17 age, 18 and over, they still have the opportunity to apply to be like a leader in training, or a camp counselor for our camp, which could be definitely, professional development opportunity for them and that training opportunity aspect. So definitely would like to connect on that. But yeah, keep an eye out. I'll be sending the email out shortly. and and
Will do.
and you bring up a good point, Ayana, about like that college readiness piece, right? Because that's really important specifically for our youth with limb loss and limb difference. A lot of them are deciding, do I want to go to college? And if so, do I want to go to a college that's close to home? Do I want to go to a college where I'm going away to college? And if I do, what does that look like? What does that look like accessibility wise? Right. So, Mariana, one of the things that we're working on is trying to set up like virtual college campus tours next year for participants to be able to have the opportunity to maybe talk with an admission staff, even at like a UCLA, right? And talking about the campus there and the accessibility of that campus, or, disability resources that could be provided to our youth or participants who are looking to go to that particular college. Or even if it's not that particular college, just in general, any college, what does that process look like when you're trying to get, ADA accommodations, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's in a dormitory, whether it's, extracurricular activities. So we'll love any insight also from UCLA if you know of like how to set up like a virtual campus tour, if you know any of your colleagues that would be open to hosting that for our young participants.
Yeah, definitely we could schedule something. I deal more with the employment side, but we do work very closely with our colleagues at the disability office. So definitely we could set something up, and I'm sure they'll be more than glad to talk to you.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. I think another thing too is really for our youth to have the opportunity to speak to college students with disabilities that are already like on campus and are current students to really talk about their experience as a student with a disability, right? Because I think it hits home more when they're getting that real life experience or that real life input, from someone who may have a disability, say, well, these are some of the challenges that I'm going through now, maybe, living on campus. Or, I might have difficulty accessing this extracurricular activity, but this is what I was able to do, to make it more inclusive. Right. So I think even something like that, where we could partner with disability resources at UCLA, to get a student to come in to talk about that experience, I think will also be super valuable. But yeah, how about Julie, Melissa, Phoebe, and any plans for 2025 within your organizations?
At Walgreens, I think one of our bigger plans, of course, someone already mentioned potential changes in DE&I, is we're now going to be inclusion specialists, not just disability, because we're worried that we might lose some of the other groups as well. But with that, some of the things we're focusing on for projects are having a centralized accommodation center. Right now can be a bit challenging, a little bit more time consuming when someone does have an accommodation need. And what we want to do is be able to almost, I don't want you to have to ask for what you want. Here's some things. Would something here work for you? What's worked for you in the past, to kind of reverse that? So that's really, I think, our biggest focus is how do we change that so people can get what they need faster and also know the different things we might have available.
No, that's really awesome. I think, a lot of times some of our participants struggle with, okay, they're returning back to work. And for them, this might be a new experience, returning back to work after an amputation, right? So they're not knowing what specific accommodation they might need. So I think a lot of times a lot of conversations happen of, what accommodations could I ask for? Will my manager, be upset if I ask for that? Will they decline, a certain accommodation? So I really like that aspect of like, hey, what's working for you? Or if you don't know, here are some options that could work for you. Because I think it just makes that process a lot streamlined, specifically for our participants when it comes, to that transition back into work. So really cool stuff. That is awesome. Phoebe, and any new and exciting things for 2025?
I think for us, and I'll let Melissa speak for herself, even though, we're unified in our mission, is the biggest thing for us is to try to keep expanding our corporate partnerships. And it's been tremendous to get to know Julie a little bit and, a couple of other our corporate relationships. And I'm so grateful for, a Walgreens Booth Alliance that embraces hiring people with disabilities. I just wish that we could find more corporations who are willing to open their doors and trying to get over these barriers. So that's really our greatest push, and we're hoping for more success stories in 2025.
Oh, that's great. That is really, really cool for sure. But yeah, you like you mentioned, Phoebe, there's some employers or organizations that, they may say, well, I want to increase, the number of employees that I may have with disabilities, right? And for some organizations, specifically smaller ones, it's trying to find, the how. How do I find those participants? Or if I do find those participants, what level of training am I needing to provide? Do we have the team to be able to provide that support, right? So I think a lot of times it's really just having conversation. And I know with me, personally having conversations with employers or organizations to say, hey, you're pushed to increase, individuals with disabilities in your workplace. it could be done with this training, or it doesn't have to be specifically all just on your organization or all on your staff, right? So then we have conversations about like vocational rehab, where, there's job coaches going out to the work site, or rehab engineers going out to the work site, to do a work site assessment on accommodations that might be needed for that particular person to succeed, right? So I think it's a lot of that conversational piece with the employer and organization as well, to say, hey, I know, you may want to hire more individuals with disabilities, and kind of struggle or challenge with, how, but these are some of the resources that could be provided to help you to get there. And then in turn, that helps as you have a pocket of participants who are looking to maybe work for that particular company, or just, have a certain career interest, to be able to be placed in those job positions. But really great point. And really, I think that's also a goal for us as well, is how do we continue to, build out, partnerships, and not, just one-time partnerships, but long lasting and collaborative partnerships, to make sure that, our participants are getting the opportunities and job opportunities just like any other person their age, or any other individual. So really cool. And I'm curious to see what you guys are doing at My Employment Options for 2025, and any new initiatives or events happening.
Well, we continue to do webinars, job fairs, and I think, obviously wanting to make more partnerships with employers so we can get our clients back to work.
For sure, and I think I mentioned this before, but a majority of our participants, as they're looking to return back to work, they may be in a place of, they're trying to navigate their disability benefits, and what that process looks like of transitioning off of disability benefits into employment. And a lot of participants, they're scared about what that process may look like, right? Of, okay, if I go back to work, am I going to lose my health care? I might take a full-time job and I might not be able to work full-time. I only could work 10 hours a week, right? So really appreciative, and of your services specifically at My Employment Options, because that's one resource that I provide to our participants who are kind of in that arena of, that transition from disability benefits back into employment. So, but yeah, we'll continue to share out, information on My Employment Options, and we also get the information on the webinars as well. So we share that out on our end.
Yeah, and we also have a full-time CWIC that's on staff. So at any time, if our clients have questions, if they receive letters from Social Security, they're always welcome to speak with our CWIC, Teresa.
Awesome. No, that's really good to know as well. Yeah, made note of that also. Well, very cool. Chris, anything that I missed, or any last thoughts or comments before we close out our last meeting of 2024?
I don't think so. I think you covered it all. Thank you.
That sounds good. Well, I know we're coming up on a holiday, and I will give everyone 15 minutes back of their time. But I just want to thank everyone on the call, everyone that's part of the council. This year was the first year that we started our employment council, and just, as we close out 2024, it's just really great to see, how the council formed and developed, and such a strong cohort of employers and organizations, and people that really identify with the mission of DEI, and the hiring and the inclusion of those with disabilities and those with loss and limb difference. So really thankful for all of you, and for your time and your support. I look forward to the work that we'll be doing in 2025 together. And yeah, just keep an eye out for some emails from me within the next couple days. If anything comes up, let me know. But I'll also share out that new calendar invite for the second Wednesdays of each month at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And any webinar opportunities that we have, I'll also share with you guys. Ayana, I think one of your coworkers or someone from Easter Seals, Florida, is going to be on our webinar tomorrow.
I think so. I'm not sure. I forgot her name. I think she's out of Chicago, right?
Hmm, It seemed like it was a male name. I don't know. I got to look back and see.
Oh, well, let me know so I can support.
No, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up and then I'll keep you posted. But either way, thank you for sharing that out.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate that. So we're also looking to really increase our attendance of attendees on our webinars. So greatly appreciate that. So any upcoming webinars we have, I'll make sure you guys get those invites and registration links as well.
Okay.
Well, thank you everyone again. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope you enjoyed a holiday season with family and loved ones. And I look forward to seeing everyone in 2025.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Yeah.
day.
Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.